So when an incident happens, do you have some tips that maybe you could share with our listeners that would help those businesses get through that crisis, whatever that crisis happens to be?
Sure. So, like I said, I tend to focus on, I think, what from the three pillars. So, if a crisis has already started and you have not done any preparation, the biggest thing is that you have to know what the issue is first, and then move into resolution. Sometimes people think, well, I have time to figure out what the problem is or how it began, but you really don't. You have to move into resolution, whether it's a Band-Aid or a permanent fix, but you have to move into a resolution type of response. And when you're doing that, you're constantly having to find out, like, what are the different ways am I going to put this messaging out? Am I messaging my people in the same manner that I talk to them normally? Because sometimes people think, oh, we had a breach, I'm only going to put this on our website. But you normally call people, you normally send emails, you normally send mail outs. Why isn't that part of the process? So you have to go back and take a look at every single way you're communicating people with on a normal basis. You have to take a look at how long it's going to take you to prepare and see how you can move up that preparation for your external conversations and messaging that's going to go out. You know, we really focus on having our executives, whoever that executive is in the C-suite, come out from the forefront, to not hide, because a lot of times when the crap hits the fan, they want to run and hide, and that's not the time to do that. You can't lose face during that time, so you have to make sure that the executive of whatever level that is comfortable in speaking to whatever the situation is, even if it's we are looking, we're working around the clock, we're looking into this issue, you have to have some kind of dialogue, or else it just looks like you're hiding and have no intent of fixing the issue.
And that, I think, I've seen that happen, and it almost seems like the larger the company, the worse it can be, because you've got a lot of people that are looking for answers, they're looking for solutions, they're looking for reasons, they're looking for communication, and when they're not getting that from the company, whoever, like you said, it is that's responsible for communicating that, I mean, that's a huge part of the crisis communications. So I'd like to kind of get into that a little bit more. So where, like, let's say there's some sort of incident, whatever it could be, an online incident, offline incident, maybe somebody breaks in after hours and steals a bunch of company files out of the filing cabinet. It doesn't have to be a digital, crime. It could be just a traditional one. Or it could be, more of a cyber crime where they hack in and they download a bunch of plans or information or whatnot. So what would you recommend that the course of action be in terms of preparing for the communications to get a good sort of chain of communications open with, for example, the press, possibly shareholders, employees, vendors, et cetera? Like what's sort of the process there, or what should a company sort of begin to do?
Yeah. Now, I mean, completely and totally, when we talk about some of these issues that come up, some companies, it takes them a while to even learn about the issue. But, immediately it always falls to what is the incident? Like, what happened? So if the incident was like a theft or something like that, what did you notify the authorities? Start there, because a lot of companies are afraid, but it's by law. You have to communicate with them, whether it's Secret Service, whoever. You have to share this information. And so when you start there, I tell people to do that, because now we're beginning to get a record log. So people can't say, I ignored it, right? We're starting this on record that we're starting this process of fixing the issue that's going on. After that, one of the things that I say is to streamline that communication. When you have an incident, of course, you have to let shareholders know if you're a publicly traded company. But before you can just go spilling out and having them run for the hills, selling their stocks, you have to know, okay, we have this breach. We don't know exactly how it happened, but we have 20 people working on it. They're working around the clock. We brought in these other people. So you might not have your full message in play, but you have to have a response team ready, right? So everybody on board has to have their responses known. They need to know individually. Each department head needs to have a checklist and said, I have gone through, I've checked with my vendors, I've checked with this, I've checked with that, so that I know internally, like, this is where it didn't break down, or this is where it broke down at. So you have to have some type of, even in the middle of the crisis and you haven't done any planning, the leadership itself has to do their due diligence and become the biggest private investigator that they could ever be for their lives when that crisis hit.